What's up guys, it's Johan here for another Q&A video on the Run Wander Wonder channel. If you haven't been on this channel before, it's mostly a vlog, but I try to do some informational, some helpful videos about a variety of topics, mostly training either for triathlon or running, traveling, which I love to do, and just anything else that's kind of relevant to my life. I'm a photographer, I am a coach, I am an athlete, runner, triathlete, and I just like to share my life with people. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe, or if you're on Facebook, make sure you like the page. And today I wanted to do a little video about just some questions that I pulled off the internet regarding triathlon. These are kind of random questions, but I'd love to do another one of these videos. So if you have a question that I don't address, then just throw it up in the comments and I will try to do another one of these. I really want to do more stuff like this, more informational and helpful kind of content for you guys. So this is, these are just random questions that I either came up with because I've gotten them in the past frequently, or I pulled them off of the Triathlon Reddit page. So here goes. First question, what do I wear during a triathlon? So there are specific triathlon outfits called tri-kits, tri-shorts, tri-tops. They're all designed to be able to be worn throughout the whole triathlon. So they're shorts that are tight enough to swim in. They got a little bit of a pad on the butt for the bike, but it's not too much of a pad, so you could still run in them. So you could literally just wear them throughout the whole race. And then there's also tri-tops that are kind of like bike jerseys, but they're a little tighter. A lot of times they'll have pockets in the back for like gels and stuff like that. So the whole idea is you're able to wear the entire outfit, the top and the shorts, throughout the whole race, and that way you don't have to change or anything. They do have Onepiece tri-suits, but we'll talk about those a little later. Other than that, if you're brand new to triathlon, you don't want to throw down a pretty penny on tri clothes, you can literally wear like a swimsuit or a pair of like compression shorts during the swim, then throw on some bike shorts over that during the bike, and then peel them off and run in them during the run. There's people who will do the whole race in board shorts and t-shirt, just throw the t-shirt on after the swim. I mean, you can get through it on a budget, but you can do the whole tri-suit. Why do I get cramps? So cramps are 99% of the time because of a lack of electrolytes or a lack of salt. So if you've been out training or racing for a few hours and you haven't been replenishing any of your electrolytes, then that's where cramping comes. So especially potassium and calcium are really important in the muscle contraction process, like the cellular muscle contraction process. And if you are running low on potassium or calcium, then that process can get interrupted and the muscles start kind of over contracting. And that's where you get a cramp. So make sure you take your electrolytes. Do I need to do flip turns like when training in the pool? You don't need to. I know plenty of people who don't do flip turns and get through their training just fine, but they do help in kind of establishing a rhythm during your long swim workouts. So if you're swimming 1,000 yards without stopping, and every time you get to the side of the 25-yard pool, you're having to kind of stop and then start again, it can get kind of interruptive with your rhythm. So flip turns can be nice for that, but they're by no means a necessity. If you do want to learn how to do them, just practice doing like somersaults in the water first, and when you get good at those, then just start practicing like swimming up to the wall and flip turning. The T in the line at the bottom of the pool indicates when you're getting close to the wall. Taller people can flip closer to the T and judge the distance right. If you're shorter, you'll have to go past the T, but that just takes practice to kind of figure out where you need to be. But again, not necessary. Open water swimming. Do I need to practice open water swimming? If you are doing races that are in open water, I would absolutely recommend you try to practice open water swimming with a group for sure. Group is always better when you're out on a lake. It can be very nerve-wracking for a lot of people at first. I know I grew up going to lakes, and so I've never been really nervous in open water, but a lot of people are. So if you are one of those people, just make sure you practice it and get out there and do it. That's really the only way to get used to it. It is not like swimming in a pool because you can't see the bottom. Sometimes you can't even see your arm when it's like stretched out in front of you because it's so murky. You just have to practice. It's just one of those things. Do I need clipless pedals? So do you need to clip your feet into your pedals on your bike? You don't, again, it's one of those things, you don't necessarily need it, but it does help a ton with your cycling. So if you're just using flat pedals, all you're doing is basically pushing down on the pedals, and that's all quads and some glute in there as well. If you clip in and your foot is attached to the pedal, you can now not only push down, but you can pull up, you can push forward, and you can pull back, and you're engaging the entire leg, quads, the hamstrings, the glutes, and you're really able to maximize your output on the bike. So it can get a little nerve-wracking if you've never done it before, but it's super, super helpful if you can get used to it. Everybody falls over at least once. I know most people have that situation where they unclip on one side and then fall over to the other side. Happens to everyone. It sucks, but it's one of those things that usually only happens once or twice, and then you kind of get used to leaning in that correct direction. If you don't know, the way to unclip from clip pedals is by twisting your foot out. It's super, super easy to unclip. So don't think that you're like tied to your bike and it's super hard to get off of it. What kind of socks do you use? So any moisture wicking socks are gonna help. I think with this subject, it kind of helps to try different things. For me, over the years, I've really come to enjoy the Injinji socks, which are like toe socks, but those do take a lot longer to put on. So if you're like using them for a race and you're throwing them on either before the bike ride or before the run, it can take a little longer to put those on because you gotta get all your toes in. But I really like those because during the run, my feet don't blister like at all when I wear those. So if I'm running a race, I'm doing a triathlon, for instance, it's got like a 6K or a 10K or less, so like an Olympic or a sprint, I'll probably just wear a normal pair of socks, like moisture wicking socks, athletic socks. But if I'm doing anything longer, so like a half Ironman or an Ironman, I usually will take the time to put on the Injinji socks, just because it kind of guarantees that I'm not gonna get those blisters. So just find something that works for you. Is an aero helmet necessary? So an aero helmet is only necessary if you are spending a lot of time on the bike going over about 18 miles an hour. If you're new to cycling and your average speed is like 13 to 16 miles an hour, an aero helmet's not gonna do a whole lot for you in terms of like aerodynamic advantage. And I think you're really just wasting your money. The same kind of goes for like the disc wheels. A lot of those like aerodynamic products really only start to take effect unless it's around 18 miles an hour or more. The thing that is going to give you the biggest advantage from an aerodynamic perspective is spending as much time as possible in your aero position. That's gonna give you more aerodynamic advantage than a helmet or than the wheels. So if you're gonna do anything, spend money on aero bars and get used to being in that position. That's for beginners. If you're an experienced cyclist and you're going faster than 18 miles an hour, an aero helmet could definitely help you. Same with the wheels. Should I carbo load? So carbo loading is kind of one of these things that came out of the running community where like the day before a marathon, you just like chow down on a humongous meal of pasta. I would not recommend that because especially things like pasta are very heavy on the digestive system. And what you don't want to do is wake up the morning of a race and have a full stomach and your body's still trying to digest the meal from the night before. The best thing to do, in my opinion, the day before, you can carbo load. You could have like a big meal 2 days before the race. And then the day before the race, I would recommend doing like smaller, consistent meals throughout the day so that your body is able to just kind of digest all of it, and you go to bed and your body finishes digesting while you're sleeping, and you wake up with an empty stomach so that you can get a little bit in before the race and you're not having to race with a full stomach. You can carbo load. I would just do it 2 days before, not the day before. What kind of bike should I get? So if you're brand new to triathlon and you're not in the mood to drop $5,000 on a bike, you could literally find stuff on eBay or on Craigslist or on your local whatever for $600 to $900, $600 to $800. The most important thing to do is to get a bike that is your size. So there's sizing charts that you can find online, or just ask your bike shop, like, what size do I need if I'm 5'11 or 5'9 or whatever height you are. The size is gonna be the most important thing. From there, it's really just within your budget. I mean, you could, like I said, you can find bikes that are like $600, $700, $800, or you can find bikes that are $10,000, $11,000, $12,000. So I would recommend, if you're brand new to triathlon, just get something beginner and just get something that you're gonna be able to race in. You can do a road bike, but the geometry of the road bikes, the angles and everything, and the way your muscles engage to actually push the pedals is it's slightly different than a triathlon bike, and the triathlon bikes are typically better for that bike to run transition. So a tri-bike is definitely the way to go, but I've seen plenty of people do triathlons on mountain bikes and cruiser bikes and whatever, so you really can do whatever you want. Do you use a one-piece tri-suit? So I do. This was actually a recent development. I got my first one-piece tri-suit, I think last year, maybe the year before. But what I've decided is I'm only gonna use a one-piece tri-suit for sprints or Olympics. And the reason behind that is that in order to use a restroom, which you typically need to do in a race that's longer, like a half Ironman or an Ironman, you need to take the whole thing off in order to pee. I like to stop to pee. If you're one of those people that pees on the bike or pees while you're running because you don't want to stop to use the restroom, that's totally fine. You can use a one-piece tri-suit and you just pee on the go and it's totally fine. This doesn't apply to you. I like to stop and use the restroom. I've tried to pee on the bike, literally stood up on my pedals and like tried to pee. I can't do it, like physically cannot do it. So I've stopped to pee and I don't really feel like taking the whole suit off in order to do that. So I would say for me, a one-piece tri-suit is good for shorter races where I'm not necessarily gonna need to pee or use the restroom during the race. And then for the longer stuff, I use a two-piece, so the top and the shorts separate. Why do my toes get numb during cycling? So this is to do with where the cleat on your shoe, if you're wearing clip-on shoes or clipless pedals, where the cleat on the bottom of the shoe is adjustable as to where it can be. And if it's in the wrong spot, I think if it's too far back, I could be wrong about this. If you know the answer, put it in the comments. If it's too far, like if this is your foot, if it's too far back, it puts pressure and it can like limit circulation on your toes. So that's where the toes get numb. So you just have to find the right position of the cleat on the shoe so that your feet don't get numb, your toes don't get numb during the bike. How do you get over a bad workout slump? So if you have been having a good training block and you go and do a swim or a bike ride or a run and you just feel like crap the whole time, understand that this happens to literally everybody, and there's no one in the world that's going to have a 100% awesome training block for like 3 months of just like nothing but great workouts. Like everybody has bad slumps, and the best thing you can do is just get through the workout, follow whatever instructions you have for that workout, get through it, and then just reset and do it again tomorrow. Yeah, like you can like quit, but then you're not gonna get your workout in, and that might make you feel worse than just getting through it. Just understand it happens to everyone. Like it doesn't necessarily, a bad workout doesn't mean your training is going to shit. Like a bad workout, it just means that day something is going on, and that's it. So don't think that like your whole world is coming crashing down. Tips for T1. To keep this kind of short, one of my biggest tips for going into the swim to bike transition is typically swimmers, like triathlon, when we swim, we don't really kick a whole lot. It's just a lot of wasted energy. You're basically just using the kick to like stay horizontal in the water and for a little bit of balance and anchoring of the rotation. But what I try to do in the last like 100, 200 yards of the swim is I try to really increase my kicking to start kind of warming up and getting some blood flow into the legs, because that's where people get out of the water and they're kind of wobbly because their legs have like very little blood flow because it's all up in the arms. So use those last like 100 to 300 yards of the swim to kind of warm up your legs and get them ready. So a lot of people get out of the water and just sprint to their bike. I think that's wasted energy. I think it's just putting a lot of just like too much like effort. You can jog it over and maybe be a couple seconds slower, but it's not gonna affect anything. So just take your time. If it's your first triathlon, definitely take your time. It's so easy to rush through and forget things. Things like you need to have your helmet buckled before you leave your transition area. You don't mount your bike until you get to the mount line. Things like that can be easy to kind of overlook if you're trying to rush. So my tip for T1, especially if you're a new triathlete, is take your time and get it right. The other thing too that a lot of people do is when they're getting their transition ready in the morning, they put their helmet like on the aero bars or on the handlebars of their bike, and then that way, because when you go up to it, you just stick it on. The problem is like a lot of people are moving around and doing things before you even get back to your bike. People who beat you out of the water might like bump your bike and then your helmet falls off and it rolls away, and then you spend like 20 seconds looking for your helmet. Just put the helmet on the ground. Like it's so much more secure, like it's not gonna roll away. The other thing too is set your transition up in a way that's gonna be easy to like put stuff like on. So for instance, if I have like my sunglasses and I put them like on the ground like this, I have to like pick them up, turn around, open them, and put them on. If I just put them like in my helmet, this is my helmet, and I put them in like that, I literally just take them and like put them on, and then take the helmet and put it on. So that's my suggestion for how to set up your transition. Tips for T2, this is the last one of the day. My tip for T2 is, first of all, this kind of is not necessarily specific for T2, but definitely practice the bike to run transition in your training. That is the hardest like physical transition between disciplines in triathlon. Your legs are gonna feel super weird coming off the bike, and so definitely practice doing those brick workouts, which is where you go for a bike ride and then you immediately go for a run afterwards. The other thing too is triathletes have notoriously tight hip flexors, like the front of their hips and their quads. Like that whole chain in the front is super tight, and that's because when we're biking, like we're kind of hunched over and we're constantly shortening those hip flexors, and when we're running, it's kind of the same thing. So spend a lot of time stretching those out, and if you need to spend like 20-30 seconds in transition kind of stretching out your hip flexors after the bike ride, I would do that just to kind of loosen them up a little bit before you start running. The other thing for T2 is don't forget to leave your helmet there. A lot of people run off with their helmets or their like bike clubs, and then take your time to get into the run. Like don't like blast out of the transition area thinking you're like gonna like start super quick, because that transition also like spikes your heart rate like crazy and your legs are gonna feel weird. Take your time and ease into it. Pretend like you're just starting your workout and you have to kind of warm up and get into your pace. Otherwise, you're just gonna waste a lot of energy. Finally, the other thing I would say associated with the whole race is ride your bike in order to run. Like a lot of people, literally so many people, oh, I felt so good on the bike, but I don't know what happened during the run. I just lost it during the run. It's because you went too hard on the bike. Like that's just the way it is. Like people come out of the water, they feel super good, they get on the bike and they start just like cranking, and then they get on the run and they wonder why their legs feel like shit. So ride your bike with the consideration that you have to run afterwards, and you'll have a better overall race. So those are my tips that I just kind of put together for this. I hope it was helpful, but if you have any more questions, like I said, throw them in the comments, and if I get like 10 to 15 new questions, then I'll do another video next week about this as well, especially now that since we're going into the triathlon season here in Arizona, this is hopefully helpful for everyone. That being said, I am Johan. This is Run Wander Wonder. It's my channel and I love doing this, and I hope you enjoy the videos. Don't forget to subscribe, like it, share it with your triathlon buddies, and we'll see you next time. Peace.